This is something that I came across recently with a transaction years ago. I think it was my mentor at the time, super knowledgeable guy, had explained to me that if you have a listing, anytime someone in the RPA checks section 7-B-2, which pertains to minimum mandatory government retrofit requirements, and they're asking for your seller to pay for those if something comes up, counter it out. Don't ever accept an agreement with that. And I had always done that just as standard practice, and reading how vague the language is, I had always done that. And then, just reading the language and realizing how vague it is if you read it, if something comes up and your seller agrees to leaving that checkbox in the agreement, it could be bolting the foundation. It could be, repairing that. In Oakland, if they have point of sale ordinances, which they do, you could have to repair the sidewalk. You could have to put a new sewer lateral in. I mean, you could run into literally tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
Because the language is so vague. The approach that we've always taken is counter that out. If something is in the inspections the buyer doesn't like, or if they have some specific requirement, you can deal with it after, when you're looking at your pest inspection or your home inspection. But when you look at the language, it says seller, or if seller box is checked right here, shall pay the cost of compliance with any other minimum mandatory government inspections and reports if required as a condition of closing escrow under any law. Section 2 says, pay the cost of compliance with any other minimum mandatory government retrofit standards required as a condition of closing escrow under any law, whether the work is required to be completed before or after COE. Section 3, buyer shall be provided within the time specified in paragraph 14A a copy of any required government conducted or point of sale inspection report prepared pursuant to this agreement or in anticipation of the sale of the property. Well, I don't do too much VA stuff. I have a property that's going to close in a couple of weeks in San Pablo. There is a point of sale ordinance for the sewer lateral, and there is a pest inspection, small amount of damage, but in this case, we didn't accept this because there was no need to. It wasn't checked. So, we did accept it the way it is. So we moved on. However, the buyer's agent came back later because they're getting VA financing and said the seller has to fix all this stuff. And I said, no, I think you're mistaken, because there's nothing in the FHA VA mandatory clause that's automatically inserted into an agreement when you have a FHA or VA transaction.
Right.
When they check that box that they're getting right here on page 1, Sonia, for FHA or VA, when they're writing that offer, the system automatically includes that other addendum or clause into the agreement.
Okay.
Well, if those boxes would have been checked, it would automatically put my seller on the hook to pay for any and all costs that come up as a requirement by VA or FHA to close that transaction.
So they, the buyer's agent didn't fill this out correctly in that they didn't check the VA box.
Right. Yep. That's right. If I have a transaction,
to me too, of like, oh yeah, I've got to make sure.
Right. If I have a transaction where that is checked, and I did it on another transaction recently, in our counteroffer back to them, we countered it out. And it wouldn't have caused a problem on that one. It's just the way I'm used to doing business and dealing with these agreements. So on the other one that I had, if I'm remembering the right one, and I don't know if I can find the document fast enough, but let's see here. Yeah, this is a different deal, but I just countered it out on another property. So in our counter offer to the buyers on another transaction that I have, one of our seller counters back to the buyer basically just says section 7-B-2 is removed from the agreement, meaning neither buyer or seller are agreeing to it. I explained to the buyer's agent that if there's something in the inspections you guys don't like, let us know. If there's something you're concerned about, let us know. There's no point of sale ordinances, etc. I don't know why that box is checked. She agreed and said, yeah, I don't know, we just checked the box. But to be on the safe side, and this would have, because, I'll admit, because I've always done it, I never really worried about it, but this was the first time in a transaction where I saw that I could have had my seller on the hook. Wouldn't have been a huge amount of money. I probably would have paid for it out of my check. It would have been a few grand.
Right.
But at the same time, what if it's 20 or 30 and you got your seller on the hook for that? You got to be really careful about that section.
Excellent.
All right. You got anything, Terry?
Nope, I think you hit the nail on the head on that. I've always countered that out.
Yeah. And I was just taught to do it that way. But then I had a real world experience, where my relationship with my seller would have gone south pretty quickly. So you just have to make sure.
I appreciate your both of your knowledge and experience with this, because again, unless it's been shown to you, you don't get it. And then also you've got the story here, that makes it make sense, instead of like, I don't know, we just always counted that out. But you really have the reasoning behind it of you're right, you would have actually paid out of your pocket, or it would have made the relationship go south. And then
and there's a lot to know in the forms and a lot to read, and you can connect a lot of those dots. But then when someone gives you a real world contractual example, then it really clicks, like, okay, here's how this could really affect the transaction. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while now, and now I really had an experience with it where, wow, if that box was checked, could have been sewer lateral, pest damage, could have been even more. They would have had to show me in this case where the VA requires the pest in section 1 to be done, because I'm a little vague on where it would get the seller on the hook for that, but the sewer lateral for sure, because that is a point of sale ordinance in San Pablo and in Contra Costa County, unincorporated areas, that has to be done.
Right.
It could be even bigger in my opinion, depending on the type of property, the age. Oakland, I'll go back to that example because there are foundation retrofit requirements, because those homes are older and there's earthquake safety issues. There's sewer lateral compliance, that's another point of sale ordinance. Then Oakland has some goofy stuff, like you have to repair the sidewalks if they've buckled. Someone has to take responsibility to pay for that, and it's mostly because the city's out of money. Right. So somebody's got to pay for that, and that's a part of the real estate transaction now. That's got to be done. So add up all this, and it can be a huge right. nut to crack for somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Terry and I, a few weeks ago, had Terry's sponsor come in. He's one level above Terry, and we'll put more together to share with everybody on that, Sonia. But this really made the light go on, the light bulb for me a little more. His name's Chris Okamore, a great guy, super high energy. If you have somebody that in your area, but they're more of a heavy hitter, and we need to bring the right person in to help get them recruited, we have that resource available. And then Brent Gove is above Chris, and Brent is the guy, I think I sent you that first video, the model explained. What really kind of hit home for me was Chris was pretty open about what he does now. He does very few real estate transactions. For a few years, only a few years, he's been simply recruiting, and he's making about 20 grand a month. So he sells a couple of properties a year, so he caps and meets that dollar commitment with EXP, and he makes over $250,000 or in that range, just off the people that he's brought in. So the downline with EXP is significantly different than Keller Williams, and the mindset about when you're talking to other agents or somebody who's even new and wants to get in, let us know. We'll help you recruit people. Someone who's just talking about getting licensed. And that's part of what we want to focus on with our group here, because what we don't want is people to get, they can get into those meetings and there's tons of training with the XP, which is fantastic. But we also want to be, kind of another group that newer people would look at it and go, wow, I'm in this weekly meeting. These guys are kind of mentors too, and we can help with a whole bunch of stuff just to help people be as successful as possible when they get in.
Hey, Tony, I think that this would be a really great time, and it would benefit me too, if maybe Sonia took 1 minute and introduced herself and told us what markets she served, because number one, I don't know where you're at, Sonia. I think I know you're in Southern California.
Yeah.
But also it's memorialized in our training so that anybody that joins our group down the line or is thinking about it, she's got an instant referral if somebody has some business that way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. If I would have known, I would have done my hair a little better.
Now, this is just an opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, but so I met Tony when he was selling my parents' property. And honestly, he was the first to really model a great realtor. And when we were looking to do a 1031 exchange, I contacted my wife's good friend who's been doing real estate in LA for 15 years. She took me around and she just started saying things like, you know what, this would be a good career for you. You should really consider doing this. It really fits your personality. I was doing personal training at the time and I was kind of burnt out. And I was like, yeah, actually, I think I will. So I got my license. I started working with her and eventually went over to Keller Williams. And the main reason to go to Keller Williams was to get some training. But honestly, just having Tony as a resource was more helpful than anyone else. So, but I'm here I live in Culver City. I work in the greater Los Angeles area. I've helped people buy in Long Beach. Just recently, I closed a vacation rental home in Joshua Tree. Sold a place in Westchester down by LAX. Helped someone buy in the Valley. So really just the greater Los Angeles area in Southern California is what I'm doing. And I've really been lucky to have a lot of great referrals from family and friends. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And there's no deal that's too small because I feel like we're all in this together, and I love the idea of helping someone find their first place. And in 5 years, who knows what might happen if they're going to be moving on up and needing my services again.
Awesome.
Yeah, all good stuff, Sonia. And that's the right personality trait that, makes a good agent, is helping people in all areas, regardless of the price. Right? I've met people now that I closed a transaction earlier this year and I represented both sides. I haven't done that too often, handful of times in my career. I met the buyers because I had the listing, and Valerie and I are going to their wedding next month.
Oh my God.
I've made a lot of good friends in this business, and for some of the things that you're kind of alluding to and that you brought up about your personality, doing the right thing for people all the time, helping people with stuff, being honest in a transaction is always something we should do, but it's something that, when you have that personality, you just naturally do. And we've become friends with these buyers, and yeah, they've invited us to the wedding, and we talk to them on a regular basis now. So yeah, you'll make a lot of good friends in this business. It's a part of the business I really like too, is when you get out in your professional life, you meet people no matter what you're doing, but when you truly like something, then you meet, your colleagues, people that you're helping, all of that. So that's all good stuff.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I just love the idea of helping people. Like, this is a terrifying thing to do. It's terrifying to put all of your savings into, like, if this is your first home, everything you've ever worked for, and if I can be there to help be, kind of make it a little bit smoother, a little less stressful, keep everything going, like that makes me happy.
Yeah. And while we're talking about it, we'll look at the friendship that you and I built, and with your family too, right? So there's further proof, that's how we met.
Right. Also, you really, I will tell anyone and everyone, Tony was like I said, the model for what a great realtor is. Like he stuck
Thank
with
you, Sonia.
And I do believe that was one of those Murphy's Law transactions.
It was, yes.
Oh, great. We've got a legal document there. What? How do we get rid of notes? I don't know. So.
Yeah, we had some things to deal with on that transaction,
right.
No doubt, but we got it done.
Right. But again, you really proved yourself to be a great professional and a great human. So thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. So I think that's all we have for kind of the regular meeting. Nobody else logged on today for some reason, but this is what the meetings are going to be like every week. We want to make them kind of short and sweet and get to the point, not keep everybody here, but provide stuff, information and content that's going to help agents, and have a Q&A. If you have something that you need help with on these weekly meetings, unless you need to get into the EXP virtual world or something and you can wait, that's what we're all going to be on these calls for.
I'd love to know more. I feel like once I got into EXP, I just kind of hit the ground running because I had transactions and buyers, and I didn't take as much time to delve into KV Core. And previous week you said there's a recording of you going over some basics in KV Core. But yeah, things like that where I feel like I could learn a little bit more of what EXP has to offer and what the systems have to offer.
That's going to be a big part of it. Yep, absolutely. Uploading contacts, using the marketing tools. KV Core is so extensive, kind of can be overwhelming, but it's when you get into it and use it and you figure out what pieces of it you want to use, it's not difficult. You just have to kind of understand, like any software program, it's almost like when you get a new phone or a new computer or some new software, you just have to get into it and use it, kind of figure out where you're going to navigate. And Terry and I will help everybody shortcut some of that stuff and hopefully get to where you need to be in there and use the stuff that's going to be most beneficial first, and then learn it as you go.
And inside of that email that I had sent yesterday with the Zoom link is the link to the YouTube channel where all of these will be housed. So
excellent.
You'll be able to go back at any time and reference some of those. Hey, I'm going to hit stop recording now.
Okay.